Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. Appreciate you guys. All right. So today in this talk, I want to take you guys from a place of, you might be in a current situation. You're growing your personal brand. Maybe your creative director is working with other people to grow their personal brands. You're in a situation where you might not think you have an interesting enough story to tell. You think about having a kind of disconnect in the content that you're posting, where you want to be. You feel like you keep losing clarity. You don't always know what to post. You feel like everything is kind of a bit sporadic. Nothing's really connected. Nothing's kind of coming together. Like, you want your content to have different parts of your life. You want content to have different parts of your business. You kind of want to bring all of these together into one thing, right? But you have inconsistent messaging and posting. That's great to hear. And today we're going to take it to the next fucking level because I pretty much want to get you into a place where, with storytelling, with content, and with your business, you're in a place of simple clarity because you understand how everything links together. Everything comes together in one narrative, one story. And it will take you to a place where you're consistently know what to post. It's all aligned into one. It's on a fucking mission where like it helps you and it helps you and your helps you and your audience with the motivation and the emotion that comes with being on a mission. Like, it's actually crazy when you have this kind of energy and this kind of power behind the story you're telling, because it links you and your customers all into one story and links you and your interests all into one story. And that's what we're going over today. And it's what I like to call the old new way to scale your personal brand business, the 21x my average real views and 17.x my content conversion rates in a way that feels authentic, aligned, and sustainable. And the reason I call it the old new way to grow on social media is because it's, if you haven't already guessed, the approach is around storytelling and telling your story. And that has been around since the beginning of time. But the content gurus will try and push it out like it's the new trend and like it's the new thing that you guys need to be doing. It's new and it's crazy. No, it's been around since the beginning of time. And the reason it works so well is because it's been around since the beginning of time. And this is the message that Josh sent me. And it's obviously what we're going through today. Is like, how do you package your brand around your story and then make that build up your content? So how do you have content that builds a brand and have that lead to actually where you want to go? And that's what we're going through. And going through and building out the system has resulted in myself personally having a 21x in my average real views and 14.7x in my content conversion rates. And yeah, they're the real numbers. I actually ran the data. I'm not a data analytical person at all, so that took me a while. But it was pretty crazy to see when we kind of got those results. There's going to be three things that we look at today. Three things. The first thing is having clarity in building your narrative, understanding what and why a narrative, like why do we have a narrative and what actually what is, and then actually building it together. Number two is memorable and irreplaceable messaging, so you can speak to the people who you feel like you're meant to speak to, whether that's your past self, whether that's your customers, whether that's your audience. Speak to them in a specific way where you actually get remembered and you're irreplaceable, all right? Because no one else can say what you're saying. And the third thing is how to use that narrative to create content. So we're going through a process that I like to call is finding, telling, and selling your story. You're finding that in the narrative, you're telling it in a way that's irreplaceable and memorable with the messaging, and you're selling that, you're having other people consume it and buy into the content that you're putting out. Right? How does that fucking sound? Let's get a bit of hype. Woo. That's what we're going through. It's gonna be
Yeah.
sick, all right? But it all starts with the narrative, right? 8 months ago, I got lucky because I built my narrative out of sheer boredom and it changed everything for me. And I want to take you on a little story, introduce myself a little bit as well through the process of the process I'm going to take you through today, like how it actually happened for myself. This is how it went for me. I was in a position where I had just left school. I was posting content, and so as you can see right here, 468 posts put out and like 600 followers. I think you guys know how shit that is. But the problem was I actually was putting out good content. I was putting out good fucking content. I was getting messages like this pretty consistently. Like, that video was fucking awesome, got me feeling some type of way. It's like these are positive comments. These were resonating with people. These were hitting hard. So from a storytelling aspect, these videos were already good. But what I was missing was a narrative. And that's why nothing stuck. Nothing scaled, because there wasn't one consistent, clear, or confident message that I was putting out through every single bit of my content. So that's why nothing grew like how it did and how I'll show you in just a sec. So that led me to a position where I just gave up. I gave up everything social media that I knew. Everything that I knew was like hashtags or trending audios or any of this type of bullshit. I stopped research. I was actually spending like 30 minutes a day researching hashtags. So I stopped all of that. I just gave all that up, and I stopped everything social media that I knew, because that was the approach I was going through before. And obviously, as you saw, almost 450 posts in and only 600 followers, something was not flipping working. All right. This was the kind of, average video that I was getting. And it was good content, but it was getting like 1,000 views, 6 seconds of watch time. Not that great to be honest. And what I decided to do instead was use my media knowledge, like actual knowledge on just like media, not like specifically Instagram or specifically YouTube, not algorithm knowledge, but media knowledge. Because specifically media knowledge, like this knowledge is based on human nature, it's based on psychology, and it's based on timeless principles. I studied media studies at school. And we learned all of this stuff in specifically like newspapers and film and TV. And we learned the same tactics, the same strategies that they used in every single different one of these media forms. And I knew that. I literally just left school to go all in on this. I was like, fuck, stop using social media bullshit. Let's go and try and use these principles, this timeless shit, and see how it can work for myself. Literally, I was studying this like a breakdown, narrative breakdown, storytelling breakdown of different like Netflix shows and different stuff that was going on. This is stuff I was actually doing in school, like literally. Who knew that school could actually come in and be useful? And I was learning how the top people were already doing this, like the elites were already doing this. Like, it's crazy. I don't want to get too into it now, but honestly, learning about the newspaper industry and here in the UK, like having the different political side of the newspapers and how that literally controls the fucking politics is crazy. And that's not a conspiracy theory, by the way. That's actually what happens. Like, it's fucked, and it's all done through narrative control. All right, and it's the same frameworks that they use in Netflix, mass movements, creative businesses, the top creative businesses, like people like Iman Gadzi, Alex Hormozi, use these to tell stories, and it flipping works. So my little naive brain thought I could do that. So I did. I fucking did it. I fucking tried. I built out on my own narrative. I actually built a personal brand narrative instead of having a narrative that was made up of like 15 different characters and different subplots and different things like a Netflix show might have. I just built a personal brand narrative for myself that included my interests, who I was trying to speak to, and what was I trying to do into one template. And I copied the template from Netflix. It was a Stranger Things narrative breakdown. I copied it and I just input my own passion, my own life into it. Right? And it helped me clarify my message in a clear and confident way, which I could repeat. What came out the other side was Project Finesse. If you guys have been following for a time, you'll know Project Finesse, all right? And actually building my narrative is the reason why Project Finesse came out. And as you can see, I kind of had all of the elements of Project Finesse and obviously how that's changed and how that's developed so much. Episode 1 is what came out of building that narrative. And Project Finesse is the business and brand that I'm running today, 8 months later. And we've gone through and has brought me everything that I've got in the past 8 months. And what followed next is history, because I used my narrative and I used my narrative and the other 2 steps I mentioned today. So finding that narrative, communicating that in the messaging, and then communicating that in the videos we put out. And I use that to create my new content. Like, how many of you guys have gone through and you feel like you've got a new idea and it's like, okay, I'm going to rebrand my content. I'm going to go through a new period of content. This is the first time in my life I went through that and it actually flipping worked. All right, this is what happened. I was here with my new mic. I brought my microphone. I actually invested him up with my GoPro. I'm still using today, editing all my videos. Fucking hyped. New narrative, a bit of clarity, and this is how things went. All right, first videos, Project Finesse coming out. We're on 600 followers. As you can see, things were going well. I screenshotted getting 5 new followers. That's how you could see how down bad I was. All right, I was hyped for 5 new followers and 15 likes. On the 23rd, I was on 700 followers. On the 24th, I was on 800 followers. On the 29th, we were just about to hit 1,000. All right, things were going well. I was putting out these videos, every single day at this point. I was using my narrative to create the content I was putting out every single day. As you can see, the posts increasing as we go out through here. On the 30th, we hit our first 1,000 followers. And then on the 7th, we hit our first 2,000 followers. So over a period of literally like 2 weeks, we had gone from 600 to 2,000 followers. We were getting videos which were getting views and saves and interactions. As you can see right here, just a video with 4,000 views, it's got 115 comments. Whenever you've seen a video that's got that little views and that many high comments, because people could connect and resonate with the flipping narrative that was being played. And this never stopped, all right? That moment onwards, I have grown 2,000 followers month over month for the past 8 months, and I'm sitting on 15,000 followers today. And it's because I'm still aligned with that same narrative. Yes, that narrative has changed a huge amount, but it's changed in tweaks. It's changed and it's grown with myself as well. And it's that narrative I want to show you how to build today. All right. And it all comes down to the narrative build and then building that up in content. And to prove that it doesn't just work for myself, this is how it's worked with all my clients, Austin. Some of you guys might know him. This is Austin here. He's building a clothing brand at the moment. He came to me, started to work with me because he was building his clothing brand. He was shifting his perspective. He was a growth operator before, and he was moving his business into a clothing brand. And I ran through him this process that I want to run you through today. And he went from not posting to posting his first 2 videos and getting 15k, which is now almost at 20k views with a huge amount of engagement per video as well, bringing up a huge amount of engagement for his clothing brand, which did a wonder, for launching things. That was the first 2 videos of announcing his clothing brand. So the fact that they did so well and got so much engagement was so good for the progression of his brand and how it's progressing today. And also for another client as well, who went from not booking any calls because his messaging was down bad and no one was resonating. He had an incredible product, an incredible place he wanted to take people, but no one understood because his messaging was so poor. So we built his narrative and we got 2x views on the first videos, started to book more calls, and led to him closing 9k in 10 days. And on one of those closes, the guy who he closed openly said, "I'm buying because I love the story and I feel like the story is me." That's insane. Imagine hearing that on a fucking sales call when you're supposed to be selling and you're actually telling stories and talking about stories and having stories in your content that are still in the viewer's mind. And when they come onto a sales call, they buy because of the story that you told and because that one story is clear and confident and repeated so effectively. So this is one of the highest leverage tasks. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna close my window. There's something crazy going on outside. Someone's got a flipping motorbike in the back garden. That's crazy. Anyway, moving on and progressing with this narrative, right? It's one of the highest leverage tasks. Like every time I'm building a new arm of my brand, I mentioned Project Finesse earlier. Every time I mention it, I bring out a new section of it, I will re-follow this process. Just this morning, I was working with Richard. Some of you guys know Richard. We're planning one of our, our second event. We're doing it in real life mastermind, and the messaging and the marketing that we put out for these businesses, these different type of projects, always follow the same process of building the narrative, make sure we message in the right way, and then put that out in the content. We do this with every client, and it's the reason we see success they do. And today, we're going to take you through it. That's what we're going to do. I'm excited. I hope you guys are flipping excited as well. I want to take you through the process, all right? This is the first thing. It's the first thing we'll look at. So that's my story. That's how it worked out. And I want to give you guys the framework and the know-how to do the same thing for yourself and the resources as well. I've got some free stuff for you guys as well as we go through this presentation. The first thing is I mentioned. So we've got build the narrative, message the narrative, and tell the narrative. Those are 3 things we're going to go over today. I'll try and keep it, within the right time and have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end as well. The first thing I want to show you is build a narrative, right? We want to have one that's aligned with 2 groups. So I know a lot of you guys, it's a personal brand. You guys actually want to build a personal brand. It's fucking personal to you. It's not just for getting clients today. It's about building a personal connection for a long term, right? That's what's so important. So that's how we do that, is we link these 2 groups together. The first one is yourself, your business, and your customers. And the other group is your past, your present, and your future. So you link these 2 together in a framework that looks a little bit like this. Your hero, your villain, your guide, the why, and the where. How this works, if you fill out all of those things, I'll show you in a template in just a second. When you have the answer to all of those 5 points, you have a story that looks a little bit like this. When we know who the characters are, we know where they want to be, we know why they want to be there, we know what's stopping them from getting there. Put why in there twice. We know why they want to be there, and then we know what the hero is trying to get to when we can come in and save them. When we know who the hero is, we know. You ever guys spend time like filling out one of those ICP documents, like understanding who your kind of ideal customer profile is like understanding the hero is that. It's like, great, yeah, we need to know exactly who we speak to, but we need to know other things in their story as well. Because it's not just one person we're speaking to. Yeah, we need to know their beliefs, their fears, what do they want, where do they want to go, all this different types of stuff, but we need to put that in a story, in a 3D framework. So when we know our hero, We know our villain, so what's getting in their way, what's stopping them from getting there. We know our guide, so that's usually yourself, what you're selling, your service, your products, your solutions. That's you. You're helping them get to where they want to go. It's emotionally charged with the why behind what they're doing. And we know exactly where they want to go and where they are. This gives us a full framework. You know how, just by me telling it there, you know, without even too much detail, you can start to see different parts of the movement. It's like, you know, we've got how do I do this? You know, we've got the hero down here. You know, we've got where they are, where they want to be up here. You know, we've got the fucking villain who's standing in their way, you know, can't get into their way, and then it's like us as the guide is going to help them fucking weave all their way around this and get to where they want to go, and it's all made possible by like the why that they have. It's like, that's actually a story. That's actually a story that we can use in our messaging to help someone take action towards where they want to be. Okay, and I've actually got a framework to help you guys go through this. I'm going to talk you through it right now, but literally, so I'm going to open it up. As you can see, let me know if you guys can still see the Notion. Yeah,
I can still see it.
Fucking good. All right. If you guys literally, so this is a kind of live like documentation framework. No, not what am I trying to say? This is a live framework that you guys can go and fill out for yourself. If you go onto my Instagram and just message me like the word narrative prompts, you get this like automated response sending it to you guys. So you can literally kind of sit here and kind of fill it out, you know, live. Like if you can kind of take this, you click, you know, duplicate up here, answer all the questions. By the end of it, it will give you something which is I call like a narrative report. It's your actual narrative. It's your North Star. All right. I'm gonna kind of talk you guys through it right now. I want to take someone and kind of guide them through this process so you can see how it works. But for yourself after this call, or if you're kind of going through it now, like DM me the word narrative prompts on Instagram. You know how the game works. It's ManyChat, of course. Just send you this thing. It's a kind of easy way of doing it. But in the time being, you know, as you guys are kind of going through that, who wants to volunteer and kind of want to push themselves through this? I want to ask you guys some questions and help you build out your narrative live so you guys can see how it works.
So I'm in.
If it's up, if it's up too quick. All right, let's flip and do this then. So for everyone else watching, this is a process again. You know, you can follow the same thing for yourself. I'm going to help Wilfred right here go through the process of finding his hero, finding what their villain is, how he's the guide, and helping them emotionally charge that with understanding where the customer is, where they want to go, and their why as well. All right, let's fucking do this. All right, I'm gonna ask you some questions, all right, and you're gonna answer them. I'm gonna press deep. If I'm being rude, just, you know, forgive me. I'm just gonna keep asking like why and different types of things and help you to go deep. How does that sound?
Mm.
All right. So the first thing, understand your hero. Tell me, who are you helping? Who are you working with?
Currently working with entrepreneurs that are trying to build a personal brand to scale their business.
Yeah. Why do they want to grow their personal brand?
So the business heavily relies on essentially getting clients from social media, but they can't figure out how to like use social media to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Let me just put you guys up there as well. Okay.
No worries.
Don't worry, Josh. We're getting there. So if their personal brand, you know, if their business relies on their personal brand, how much does it mean to them to be able to grow it? Like, what does that allow them to do?
Essentially, that will allow them to, scale their business. You know what? Something I missed out on is, I also want to work with people. Basically, I'm also working with people that want to put out a message that want to essentially expand their mission, right? So essentially, building a personal brand is like a very important thing for them. So I wouldn't know how to fully describe what it means to them, but.
Do you feel that as well? Do you want to be able to put out a mission?
But essentially, you know,
yeah. You want to put out a mission
definitely
as well?
Yeah, I put out something quite recently. So there's something I'm actually starting, which is called Project Net, you know, and that stands for No Excuses Tomorrow, because that's literally what I stand for, you know. So that's something I want to put out there, because I noticed my personal brand at first was just a way of doing organic marketing, but I realized I was getting people messaging me and telling me that, my content is inspiring them to take action, and their limiting belief was that I'm not really capable of doing anything. And that was my limiting belief in the beginning as well, because I'm not a talented person, but I just decided to take action, and I've been able to make it this far.
So that's one of the things that's important.
That resonates.
So you didn't think you could do it? You didn't think you can get to where you are today?
Yeah. Yeah.
How important is it to you that you did? Like, how does that feel?
Super important. It was because it was about, proving to myself that, I was actually capable of doing something, and I wasn't just like, some waste man, right?
Yeah.
If I put my head down, put in the work, and took action, then I would be able to definitely accomplish something.
Yeah.
So it was super important. Mm-hmm.
So when
it still is as well. So
of course, and that's going to be something that's important for you to the rest of your life. So when you're posting your content and getting your messaging out, how does it feel then when you see like a video, do well or have some like resonance? Like when you see someone commenting like real, or someone like messages you and like, I really felt that bit of content. Like how does that feel when someone resonates with your message then?
It feels super great, like I don't really look at the views. I just look at the quality of the audience, and I actually prefer having my post being engaged with rather than having a bunch of people that just view it and don't even like message me on and engage. So like when I see people telling me about, oh yeah, this video is great, I really resonated with that, this and that I actually get satisfied by that.
Yeah,
and it pushes me to making videos.
I'm the same as you. I'm a massive engagement person as well. So for you then, it's like community is most important.
Yeah, in a way, like I'm a community person, so like that's one of the reasons why I'm in Canada. I like being in the community.
Yeah,
with people with mindsets.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think you're so attached to community?
Because back in the days, like when I started my self-improvement journey, I've realized that a lot of people around me didn't have the same mentality and the same, not necessarily the same goal, but like the same drive to put in the work. So I always struggled to find people around my same situation. And, people that were willing to like invest into programs, go to networking events, miss out on nice to put in the work and things like that. So once I found something like Canada, I was like, yeah, this is sick. So that's why I'm most active.
Yeah. So that's why, these communities are really important for you, because it helps you kind of go through that grind not alone, would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How does that help you get to where you want to go? Being with people, being surrounded.
I realized I'm more of a, like, I'm a slow person, right? So I was like, instead of me trying to make myself faster, how can I like essentially find a way to compensate for that? And I realized the best way for me to do that is to essentially have people more experienced than me telling me the answer.
Yeah.
So when I see programs that provide mentorship, good mentorship, right? Shout out to Cardinal 2.0. But things like that. I'm like, this guy is around the same age, has been through what I want to go through. He knows the answer. So let me go into that and compensate for me being slow, because in business you need to be fast. So I'm like, it's better for me to just get the answer from someone else and just execute from there.
So then when you're working with your entrepreneurs, trying to help them grow their personal brand to get their message out, how much of what you feel in terms of your messaging, your community, do you want to help them feel? Like how much of that, like I saw you when you were speaking about it, you were smiling, like that emotion was really coming out. Like when you work with someone and you help them grow their personal brand, is that exactly what you want them to feel? Yeah,
I genuinely want them. I realized this as well. Before I used to work with this property guy, and I realized with him, he has a great mission and everything, but he wasn't willing to put that out. It was just more for a value-based creator. So I realized I actually want to work with creators that want to build an actual personal brand rather than just doing organic marketing, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand the difference behind that, right? So I definitely do, I definitely do want them to feel that. And they can't feel that if they don't want to feel it, because, when I was working with this guy, I was like, yo, this guy, like, to give you a backstory and keep it concise, it's basically been in prison, right? He got kicked out of his 9 to 5 because he took his family member to the hospital and this and that. So that's why he got into entrepreneurship. And I was like, yo, that's a powerful story. You need to start talking about that. Yeah. And he was like, let me just make money. I'm like, bro, what's going on? So yeah, that's definitely a big aspect of my service.
So you see the kind of power in other people's stories as well. Then, what do you think gets in the way from helping them share that story and helping them share that mission? Like, what's that? If you had to like visualize, what's that one thing stopping them? What do you think that is?
Yeah, it's definitely the limiting belief that what you mentioned in the beginning, which is I don't have nothing interesting to say or to show, right? Literally the last week, and I was with my client, I was recording with him, and he was actually very close to not having me come to his house because he thought that his weekend was boring. And what I told him is that something that a lot of few entrepreneurs, I realized that something that a lot of these entrepreneurs don't tend to forget is that their reality is a dream to most people. And a lot of you guys forget that because this becomes normal to you, right? You get all these booking calls, you're making like a K after a 1 hour call, then you might, it's in reality it's boring, but it's not boring. And I was able to actually extract a lot of good footage and just a lot of moments out of that. And I was able to make him realize that, hey, bro, this is, you're doing a lot more. And this is super interesting as well. Yeah. So it's the limited of, I'm not interested enough. Or this is cringy or something.
It's a really strong one. And then when you're like there with him, like what are you doing? Like how are you actually helping him? Like is there a system? Is there a framework? Like what are you doing to help them get over that kind of limiting belief?
So the first thing, obviously I told them the first thing is that they need to reconnect with reality, right? Because yes, your circle, you might have a circle of, killers doing a bunch of things, but if you look at your audience, right? If you look at the average person, those guys are not doing anything crazy. They're probably going to uni, looking for a different way to make more money. They're looking for, specifically with this client, he's looking to essentially build a brotherhood, and is essentially trying to bring the pride of Britain. So now I'm like, yeah, you're basically targeting the whole of Britain, and most of the guys are average. So that's the first thing I do. The second thing is I kind of just show the excitement behind the visuals.
Yeah.
Because like most of these guys aren't good with the cameras. They get like super average, not even average, like super shit visuals. So when I come in, I'm like cooking with the camera and everything.
Yeah.
And they see that they're like, yo, this is a movie. That gets them super excited, right? And there's something I actually got from Daniel Danis, which I really like, is trying to make the boring stuff look super cool.
Yeah.
So like I really dived into trying to like get different angle shots and everything to make things super cool. Like right now I'm literally recording my camera and I capture like different angles as well. And that just makes them go crazy. It's like, yo, this is actually cool.
Yeah.
Because during this time, I was just taking calls with some random guy from like India, and that's super boring, right? But you made it look cool, and that makes them pumped,
Yeah, 100%. I feel.
Yeah, I kind of just. Yeah, sorry for interrupting you, but I also just speak about the vision. So like I look at other creators as well. Like I got this from Joshua specifically. I liked how Joshua essentially mentioned looking at personal brands as having aura, right? Like, if you look at someone's page, like your page has aura, you know what I'm saying? You're like, yo, this guy is a sick guy. I want to chill with him.
Yeah.
Whereas there's some, you look at their page and it's like, yeah, you have sick value, but I don't want to chill with you. I don't know shit about you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I wanna be that person that helps people build personal brands with aura, bro. I don't want your personal brand to have no aura at all. you know?
Yeah. I like
So
that. That's a
yeah,
really good angle.
things like,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, give everyone a round of applause. You know, for coming out here and getting vulnerable on camera. I appreciate that. To summarize a few things. First of all, we could have gone for hours and gone really deep, you know. But what we've got there is an understanding of who he's trying to help, what they're struggling with, why, where are they trying to go, and how he helps them. Put into a story of what is helping people who are trying to build their personal brand, to get their message out there, to share with people, to grow their community. And you do that through Ufwa's creative direction, where he's there pumping you up, getting you hyped. He's trying to take you to a place where you have a real community, have a real message of people you're trying to help, a brotherhood of people that you're trying to help, but there's one thing getting in the way. And that is not understanding that your story is powerful enough to tell. And Ufwa comes in and helps you share that, finds the parts of your story that you don't think are interesting enough to share, and he'll do that for you. Right there, just by going through and answering some of these questions. Obviously, you know, we didn't go through this in the most normal way possible. I just asked you loads of questions and kind of took the answers and filtered them all into one thing. But right there, you have so much depth of content to post, messaging for your copywriting, messaging for your emails, whatever kind of content you're putting out for the stories you're showing. You have so much depth now, because you've answered these questions. You know what's standing in your customer's way. I could have gone so deep. We're looking at the villain. It's like, it could be a different approaches, different beliefs, or different competitors, like doing different things. Like, there's so many different aspects of all these different things. To keep it, you know, brief for this call, I wanted to kind of ask questions and kind of go over it and show how it can work like that. And I just want to show you guys how, you know, impactful this is, and how going through this can help you get so much clarity in the direction it is. And that's the first step of kind of building a personal brand. Like Ufwa was talking about, a personal brand with fucking aura, all right, is going through and understanding what your narrative is. How does everything connect together? And I encourage you, if you haven't already, you know, just literally just message me the word narrative prompts on Instagram, on my DMs. It's fucking there. You know, you get the whole thing here for free. And you just go and fill it out. You know, you might spend 30 minutes, an hour doing so, but you just have so much clarity afterwards, and it's going to be your North Star. Because I know if you guys have like content calendars or content kind of like places where you have all your content assets, you just plug this in and have it always there at the front of your mind. It's like, you ever struggle for an idea or you ever struggle for direction, you just look at that, read it, and you understand, oh yeah, this is my hero. Oh, I haven't spoken about this aspect of them. Oh yeah, they're struggling with this thing as well. It's like, I have a story that relates to that now. And they're trying to get here. It's like, oh shit, yeah, I have a story that relates to that. And it just helps you understand what your content is. All right, I hope you guys are seeing how impactful that is. I know some of you guys are asking to do like this, you know, live with you now as well. I would love to. We don't have time for that. You know, we've got to keep going through. So now what I want to do is pretty much show you what to do next with your narrative. All right. Again, thank you for helping me do that demonstration, and hopefully that's giving you some clarity on it as well with the direction. The main thing I did there to actually help get those answers out was just ask why, and be open to get vulnerable. It's like, why? Like, why do you want to do that? Like, so what does that allow? Like, so that what? And you just keep going why. You keep understanding that next layer of depth. All right, it adds so much emotional like charge to any piece of content you put out. And you know, that's one of the most important things with telling a story, is having the other person feel it. Emotional connection is so important. So now you have your narrative. You've got the sheet, you filled out the sheet, and you're kind of coming through and you're like, all right, cool, I filled it out now. What the hell do I do with it? We've got two things: memorable and irreplaceable messaging, and using that to create content. The first thing we'll go through is obviously memorable and irreplaceable messaging. It starts here, all right? This gives you the confidence to stand out. We are all different. We are all different to everyone here. There's like 7 billion people in the world and we're all fucking different. But we want to stay quiet and fit in because it's scary to stand out. But you know, the power in life comes from standing out and being you. Being what I like to call one of one. All right? Being one of one, being you. All right? So use this to actually stand out, not be forgotten, and be listened to, remembered, and heard. You know, you can cut through the noise. There's so much flipping noise on social media now. Everyone's posting. You know, there's like a million new creators every day. That's not a real stat. Don't quote me on that. But you know what I'm saying? There's new people posting every single day, new businesses every single day. And the way you stand out is by your story, telling your story and becoming one of one. This is the actual flag I've got up behind me here. And, you know, actually what it kind of made the other day, because I've resonated with it so much. It's one of one. You tell your story. No one can replicate your story in a way that's real. No one can tell your story. It's one of one. It's the only thing you truly own. And when you use your story and different aspects of your story to relate to your customers, relate to your business, relate to your past, your future, your why, your current situation now, your flipping whole narrative, all right, you have power. All right, and this needs to become your narrative, right? So it's built, you can help. Sorry, got a bit confused there. You know, you can help this obviously build your narrative, add power to your narrative of using your story and saying the ways you can only make you. It makes your stories 3D. Oh, what the hell's happened there? Okay. So this is how you can use your story to paint specific pictures of what every specific part of your narrative looks like. Going through that process there with F1, what we've done is understand the different parts of his narrative. But what we want to be able to do is paint specific pictures of what every single part of that looks like. An example, where does the hero want to be? It's not just a successful entrepreneur. They want to be a successful entrepreneur, you know, who's able to host different events, to do like launch an offer of a business and be able to close all the spots within the same day. You know, what does that specifically look like? Close your eyes and visualize it. What do you actually see? All right? Like, where is the hero now? What is their current situation? If you guys are marketing to your past self, you're talking to your past self, you're building your personal brand for your past self, which most likely you are, in one way or another, not in terms of age, but in terms of skill, resources, knowledge, whatever way it is. Where is the hero now? What did that look like for you personally when you were in that situation, when you could actually see it in your mind? For me personally, I know that, you know, the person I'm helping is posting content almost every single day. They feel like the next thing they need is just to get that viral hit and they'll be sorted. And that's the belief that I had. I was sitting there doing that, like 30 minutes of hashtag research every single day because I thought having the right set of hashtags would be the thing that helped me go viral and get to where I want to go. And I know that that was a situation I was in because I can see it. I can see the desk setup I had at the time. I had my desk over there in the room. I was doing my A-levels at the same time. So I know all the specific situations of going at the right time and then going through a process of understanding that same story, relaying that same story and relaying it in a way where it speaks specifically to our customers is what's going to create that very deep emotional connection and a response which looks like, oh my God, you're speaking directly to me. I feel like I already know you. This is so relatable. This is so true. This is what we call hyper-specific messaging, hyper-specific targeting. And it's, again, just like what I was talking about earlier with his own client, where his client was marketing to everyone in Britain. It's like you gotta be clear on who you're speaking to and understand how they want to be spoken to, because otherwise you're going to speak to no one. Some other questions to help you understand the depth of this and understand that messaging, all right, is what does it feel when a villain stops the hero? How does it feel for the hero when the villain gets in their way? I've got an example of working with my clients literally just the other day. We were writing his lead magnet and I said to him, he sent over his lead magnet, you know, we're trying to build this story funnel in a way where his videos and his lead magnet and his offer all play into the same story. They're all part of the same story. Speaking to him, and he's in helping people kind of find their dream relationship, right? That's kind of his business. And he sent me this lead magnet, he sent me the headlines, and I was like, he sent me kind of the lead magnets. I was flicking through it. So like, to be honest, I don't want to read this because I don't know what each section is. There's a lot of writing there, but I don't want to read any of it because the headlines are so like boring. They're not speaking to me in any specific way. And I was like, you've got to be specific with what does it feel like? Like what is that block of text solving? And you know, one of the sections was this. It was like, how does it feel when the villain stops the hero? So I was like, okay, what situation can you think of that your hero gets in and the villain stops? So in this situation, the villain for him is loneliness. We've identified that most of his customers position the villain as loneliness. That's what the thing that they're fighting against is. And for his hero, it feels dreadful when that gets in their way. So we had to paint the specific picture. The headline was, what to do when you feel alone on a Sunday evening. That's a fucking vivid picture. if any of his clients are watching that and are seeing this headline and they're like, oh my God, I feel alone on Sunday evening. It's like they're going to read every single bit of that because it speaks so specifically. And this works wonders then because we are actually able to help the people he wants to help and feels like he's called to serve. So going through and answering these specific questions will make your messaging memorable because we can actually see it. We are articulating thoughts that haven't been fully articulated yet. We are just bringing them out to the forefront. We're actually making them visible and irreplaceable because we attach our story to them. You ever feel alone on Sunday evenings? Then my client would go, he tells us the story of how it felt for him, where he can go into more depth, more different ways that he's tried. What's the alternate approach? Now what's he doing? And now that person is coming on a journey with him through the process of, the connection and relatability to exactly where they want to go. And then converting them to the lead magnets to the high ticket became a lot simpler. So again, these are some questions here that you can help you add depth to your narrative. It's like, again, what location can the hero see in their mind as a reason not to act? Like, what are these things that are stopping them from acting? We want to be able to understand, bring them out into the light, and make sure we are clear on what those things are. This helps us gain clarity because a confused mind never buys or never takes action. So action can be comment the word, follow, buy, whatever that is, opt in. It's like if we're not making it clear what we do or what the steps are that someone needs to take in order to get the results from our thing, whatever it is, they're not going to take action. A confused mind never buys. So we need to make it clear to see, give clarity, and do that honestly. Like, that's why Imran Gadi gets such a poor rep, because he does all of this. He makes it so clear where you're going to be. He makes it so obvious how to get there, or so clear on the steps that he thinks you should take to get there. But the problem is that we don't feel that's honest. We don't feel like that's the actual realistic approach to get there. It's like selling this a specific dream outcome of making £337 a day, or whatever it was. His most recent one was. But the problem is we don't feel that's honest. We don't feel that picture is realistic. So when we buy in and we don't get that, we are going to feel sold to and feel like ripped off. We get that trust is all going to go away. So we need to make it clear but make it honest. Hope you guys are flipping loving this. And you can answer, again, these questions with your stories. So where is the hero now? Answer this with your story. Like, where are they currently? How did that feel for yourself? Answer with your real stories, okay? And when you use this, like, use your narrative to help you. So when you're kind of creating this, you can use your narrative to help you, because your narrative will have that depth. If you know how we did it with me and Ufa, was like, I'll ask him so many deep questions. That narrative had that depth. So we can then paint the specific pictures that go with that. And then we can start to make these super visual. This will become your content. The narrative literally gives you content ideas. If you're wired in that way, like, you can literally read one of those narrative breakdowns and just have 30 different content ideas, because it's so simple in terms of, this is where we want to go, this is where we want to get to. It's value based, but with a story on top, because everything comes in a story. There is a story attached to everything. And what is that story? Story is one of one. It's your story, and then it's memorable and irreplaceable because no one else can say it. No one else can say it. And if you're trying to make these super visual, which should be your goal, painting specific pictures that someone can see inside their mind, literally with the exact words that you're using, someone can see it inside their mind. You want to make it super visual, and you can do it with these 3 enhancers. Ask yourself these 3 questions for every part of your story. What was your feelings? What were the details, and what did you think in that moment? So in for example, if I'm telling you a story about myself, and I'm trying to grow my personal brand, we used the example from earlier as I'm going through. I probably should have done these a bit more. Even if I wanted to make the story hit even harder, then I should have added these 3 things. And if I'm telling you the story of progressing through trying to grow my content, what was I feeling at each step of the process? And you don't want to just say, you don't want to like weasel this in the most obvious way possible. It's like, I was posting every day and I felt bad. It's like, that just sounds shit. It's like, I was posting every single day. I was trying to follow all these different things, and I just felt like nothing was going to work out. It's like, that's authentic, that's real. That's how you actually say it. Okay. And then you can add the details into that as well. So I was posting every single day, every day. That's a detail. I was posting every single day. What were the details? You know how I've told you today? It's like, I'm sure, like when I say hashtags, you can probably think like, oh, yeah, that guy did 30 minutes of hashtag research. Like, that's a detail. You can remember that because it's specific. These details help you see things. And then I'll tell you, what did I think? You know, earlier when I was telling you, like, I saw these narratives that they were building, and my little naive brain thought, I can do this. So I did. You get an insight into my life, into my brain, as I'm telling the story, because I'm adding my feelings, the details that I can remember, and my thoughts. Because again, the things that you notice are different to other people. The things that you feel are different to other people. The thoughts that you have, again, are different to other people. And when you add that to your story, which is already different to other people, you have a story which no one else can copy. You seeing how this shit works out? It's crazy. All right, and then using these means the hero or the person you're trying to speak to can see these images inside their mind. It's clear, and they're way more likely to take action and move to the next step where you want them to go. Whether again that's follow, comment the word, opt in, open an email, watch a YouTube video, purchase a product, whatever that is. Okay, so it's giving clarity. And now let's format this into content. How this narrative and how this messaging creates content is the next thing we want to kind of talk through and go down. First of all, I just want to recap what we've done. We've built that narrative, all right? You're filling out the narrative framework. You're going through that. You're answering those questions. You're building out the narrative in depth, all right? Then what we've done is started to make that 3D with the specific messaging, the memorable messaging, and the irreplaceable messaging. We make that narrative stand out and become 3D with the story that we're telling. So now we communicate and articulate that narrative into stories. I'm going to be talking about the stories in terms of like Instagram Reels, because I think it's the most broad things I can talk about. They can apply then, like the same frameworks can apply to emails, YouTube videos, story sequences, reel, carousel posts, whatever you kind of want to talk about. I'm going to talk about reels in the situation because it's a speciality, but you're communicating and articulating that story into every single bit of content you put out, again by following your narrative and following the messaging and the story that goes with it. To help you guys out with this, I have another free gift for you guys. It's 7 stories as templates. I want to show you this, guys, real quick. Again, you know how this game works. If you message me story templates on my Instagram, I should probably put my Instagram link somewhere. At the end of this call, I'll chuck my Instagram link and both the comment keywords if you're looking for them. You just copy and paste them in. And what you'll get, so obviously the first one is the narrative kind of breakdown. So the second one is, by the way, none of these are email walls or anything like this. This is just the easiest way for me to give this to you guys. This is the second one. This is awesome. 7 addicting fill in the blank story templates. All right, these are great ways to help you start telling that story where you literally you can follow the frameworks in terms of the structure, the prompts of what kind of questions to ask yourself to add into the story, which again help you understand how the story becomes yours, how the story becomes one of one, and how the story becomes irreplaceable. And you just fill in your own story into these sections, and you got 7 different versions of these. So you're going to start telling 7 different types of stories with your own experiences, because that's what these questions will help you do. If you want access to those, obviously it's totally free. Just message me story templates on Instagram. The game works. ManyChat will just send you a response, and fucking start creating some awesome storytelling content. To go with that, I actually want to show you some stuff on this call. So you can use those. You'll probably use those after this call. You're not going to use that right now. But to show you on the call, I want to show you the one framework that I use to 21x my average reel views. The storytelling framework that I've used to communicate and articulate my narrative. And it's the one I started to use when my personal brand started to really, really grow. Once I had that narrative built out, once I found what that story was, all I needed then to do was communicate it and articulate it in the right way, where it just made my personal brand, as Ethel would say, have fucking aura, or start aura farming. All right, just to show again, I'm actually not bullshitting you. This 21x average reel views is what happened. This is my account pretty much 1 year ago today. As you can see, this is the fucking real grid of 8 videos. I averaged all of these up and got an average of 565 views out of those 8 videos. And now this is my profile grid from just like, you know, last week, and average views is 11,855, as you can see with all these videos here. And if you're sitting, obviously these are also increased since then, so that's probably going up. These are, you know, reels are always increasing in views because the engagement's so high on them. If you're seeing this down here and saying, oh, 40k, that's an anomaly, like, you know, that's going to ruin the average, that's going to bump up the average. How she got something crazy to say. This is not an anomaly. This is a predictable sales video. You know, I might have to do like a breakdown on that specific sales video in the future. But literally over the past 3 months, I've posted 4 different versions of this same sales video, and every single one of them has gotten above like 30k views, and it's actually repeatable. Like I'm actually just like getting down to the process where I'm repeating the system, and it's just working every single time. I'm just doing a different story with the same framework to sell every single time, and these literally have like 2,500 comments, and each of them is crazy. But anyway, getting off track there. 21x my average real views using this one story framework. All right, it's one-to-many storytelling, because one-to-many storytelling has the impact of one-to-one communications. Like whether you guys are on sales calls, you're having this one-to-one, you're specifically speaking to one person, just like I was speaking to her earlier. It's like one-to-one, it's specific, you have intimacy and you have impact when you're speaking one-to-one. When you speak one-to-many with storytelling, so you're speaking to many people at once with storytelling, you have the impact of one-to-one, but with the leverage of one-to-many. All right, so you can communicate in different reels and different stories like this that hit so hard with so many different people all at once. It's pretty fucking cool. All right, so the answer is just tell stories. How? All right, this is the framework right here. This is the framework that I like to call the secret fourth act. The secret fourth act. Some of you may have heard me speak about this a little bit. All right, this is how it usually goes. In normal storytelling, this is what the content gurus will love to come out and tell you should follow. All right, is the normal 3-act structure. And I want to put a disclaimer out there. 3-act structure works flipping brilliantly on long form, like TV shows and movie and this type of thing, because the 3-act structure works really well, because they spend the first 10 minutes introducing all the characters in a really slow way. You know, you're sitting there watching a film, you don't really know what's going on for the first 5 minutes or so, but you're just kind of getting a grip of like, oh yeah, and that's the main character. It's like, oh okay, he's probably going to be the one that dies later on. It's like some shit like that. Like you understand how the story's going, but you're brought in because you've chosen to watch the movie. You understand what the title is, you've maybe watched a trailer, you know who's in it, you've chosen to watch that film, you know how long it is, and you've chosen to sit down and watch that 1.5-hour film. So when it starts at the beginning, we are gonna listen. But when you're watching reels, you don't choose to watch the video. The video is 60 seconds. You move your thumb and the video starts. What we have to do is implement the 4th act. And the crazy part is that no one talks about this, which is kind of weird, because it seems like quite common sense, you know? You start the video at the start. You can't start the video at the start because it's boring. This makes it addicting. It's the 4th act, you know, it's the 4 acts. So we go through our story, start, middle, end. But we have to have an act at the start of the story, which pushes the direction of the story in a way where it builds up just interest, and I break interest down into direction and curiosity. So as a viewer, we know where the video is going to go, but we have questions about how it's going to unfold. That's the best opening. That's the best actual start that we can give an Instagram reel. You know, obviously some people call this the hook, some people call this the whatever, but the hook isn't just the fucking words that you say. Right, it's not. That's why I don't like to call it the hook. That's why I call it the secret act, because the hook is like, people gave out hooks. It's like, no, you need to just use your own words to introduce the story in a way that sets the direction of the video and opens curiosity. It's like when I started to realize my videos that didn't have copy and paste hooks on them started to do the best, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So I dove deep into this and understood that it's like, actually doesn't need to have a specific set of words or hooks. Right, they can help you get started, but you just want to have a hook that sets the direction and opens curiosity around the rest of the story. And then from there, you go and tell the rest of the story, all right? How this flipping works is, you know, a structure that looks a little bit like this, all right? You have the hook, which is curiosity plus direction. Curiosity means it opens questions. This is where you get those hooks or the videos that start with like, what happens if? What happens when? I tried this and this happened. You know, it opens questions. But then you set the direction of like, what happens when you try and, in my example, climb 3 mountains in 24 hours? I'm opening a question of what's going to happen plus the direction of climbing 3 mountains in 24 hours. So this way, the viewer can actually decide themselves in their mind, probably subconsciously to be honest, because it happens so quick, but they can decide themselves if they want to watch the video. And that's a good thing, because we don't want everyone to watch our videos. We want who we speak to watch our videos. And the game gets interesting when you are trying to get a specific person to watch your videos and they're not. This means the direction you're setting in your videos isn't specific enough. And this comes back to the specific messaging from before, where we're talking about the messaging that's memorable and irreplaceable, okay? If you are trying to get someone to watch your videos and they're not watching your videos, it's because the questions that you're bringing up and the direction you're pushing the video in isn't interesting to them, and it should be. So something needs to change. Once we have opened that video, we then start the 3-act structure, which is just a normal start, middle, end, build up, climax, resolution type of a story structure. You know, if you guys studied English at school, like fucking English creative writing type shit, you know this. Like everyone knows this. It's common. Like it's just how we work as humans. Act 1 is all about context. Okay, when you're telling that story, you want to have the first act build up context. And yes, we can spend time opening and giving context because our first 5 to 10 seconds have built up curiosity and direction where the viewer cares now. They're brought in. Act 1 is showing us why we care. Builds up context needed for the emotions that are gonna come later on, okay? This is the secret of why we give a shit. If we don't understand the lore, if we don't understand the context behind the characters or behind the event, the viewers have no reason to care. If you want someone to flipping cry after the end of watching a video, or be super hyped, or be super inspired, or want to take action, then you need to bring emotions into it and understand why we care. You know, so once we've set the hook, the curiosity and direction, we've brought in the first act, which is the context needed for the emotions to have the emotional payoff we're looking for, we need to bring in act 2. This is where the fucking conflict happens. Some big problem happens. Like this is like the normal world that we're in act here. And then it's like, shit, something goes wrong. And this is where the story really comes into play. All right? Because if you ever guys get confused on what story is, you don't know how to tell your story, the simplest way to understand story is story equals change. Story equals change. There is no story without change. There is no world without change as well. It's like, you know, you guys watch those like cringy American TV shows and they're like, at the end of the episode, like the lesson they take away is like, oh guys, I guess there's only one thing we can say, that the only thing that never changes is that everything's always changing. It's like, okay, yeah, it's fucking cringe, but it's true. And what it means then is that everything is changing and then everything is a story. So you can make a story out of anything. But the key is stories equal change. So if a story has no change, there's no story. So just bring in change and make it sure it's clear what that thing happens. The simplest way to bring that in is introduce a problem. So we understand what the character is, what they're trying to do. Then we see what gets in their flipping way. This is where the villain comes back from earlier. So we're setting our hero up with the places that they are and places where they want to get to. Then act 2, we introduce the villain, which is the problem or the conflict involved in the story. Then we show how we fight and try and get over that. What's the conflict? What's the actual battle that happens? How does the guide come in and save the hero? How does the guide come in and help remove the villain from the hero story? That leads us all on to act 3, which is either success or failure. So what happens if the guide fails to save the hero? How does that feel? What does that leave us as the viewer thinking? It's like, what are the emotions at this point as well? So this is the storytelling structure that I'll use in every single one of my videos. If you want to have some like crazy homework, go through and watch like all of my videos and try and spot these things. You will find a hook that opens curiosity and direction. You will find the act 1, which is context building up. You'll find act 2, which is the problem, and you'll find act 3 where the resolution comes. And if you don't, it probably means the video didn't do so well. And again, I'll use this for every single bit of content that I have. Value, origin story. There's so many different types of stories. The overall story is that I use this in every single one of my videos, and you can add your narrative and your messaging into these videos to make them stand out. That's the process that we've gone through today, is finding what that narrative is, learning how we can tell it, and then actually going and telling it with a story. If I can give you one more bit of source, without trying to overcrowd your brains with so much information, I can give you one more bit of source. if you want to make these videos really stand out, you know, the enhancers that I mentioned earlier, apply them to every single one of these steps. And what were those enhancers? What did you feel? What did you think? And what were the details? You add those three things to these aspects right here. You can add them in to the different parts of the story and add so much emotional depth to every part of that story. So there we go. We've gone through a process of finding what your narrative is, learning how we can tell it, actually going and telling it. The next part is to sell it. But that's the fucking conversation for another day. Story sales is a different conversation. You know, I want to kind of have you guys go off and try it, implement the narrative, go and build that out for yourself, understand how you can say it in your own unique way, and then go and start telling that in your content, in your stories, whether it's yours or the person you're working with, because I know you guys obviously building your own personal brands and your creative director personal brands as well. So that's the position that I want you guys to be in after having used this. All right, it should give you clarity on the direction you guys want to head in. And in terms of what I've got to say, that's everything I've got to say. I hope you guys have fucking enjoyed this shit, and I want to go and answer any questions you guys have now about finding, telling, and selling your story. Let's fucking rip it.
Sabeel, go ahead.
What's going on? Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
What's up, bro? Appreciate you taking your time to speak to us. I kind of have a two-part question, so I do apologize to everybody because I just want to get it out the way so that way everybody gets a chance to speak. My first part is, I mean, we know everybody, a lot of people in this space. We know you, we know Jason, Cooperson, we know Daniel, we know a lot of people. But who is someone you watch that we may not know on where you draw your inspirations from outside of the people we know in this space? That's my first part. And the second part of my question is, you showed us your outline and the pattern that you follow in telling a story. One of the patterns that I'm currently trying to follow that I've implemented, and whenever I have a conversation with anybody, is the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, and result. Would you feel as if this is a good pattern to follow for storytelling?
Interesting. All right, I'm going to answer the first one first. Inspirations that I look at. Do you have any specifics of inspiration, like creators, or are you kind of talking about, you know, storytellers, or what kind of do you mean?
It's storytelling wise.
Okay, interesting. You know, one person.
Is there anyone?
Yeah, one person I really look at. This might be kind of like really off the cuff, but one person I really look at from a content creation perspective in terms of storytelling is these Belgian YouTubers called Average Rob. You might have seen him. It's him and his brother. They pretty much just go around and, you know, they do loads of sports and shit like that, and it's just a really authentic way of communicating a story and bringing us along the way, because it's impeccable storytelling. When you look at it at its finest, it's impeccable. But what it is just so, like, the reason they do it so well is because you feel like you're there. And I love it personally because I'm a massive fan of sports. I try and play as many fucking sports as I can, so it's interesting to see from my perspective. But it just seems like they have the same humor, you know? It's like, I feel like I'm there. I think the stories that connect with the people who are most like the people telling them work really well, because you just feel like you're part of the environment. And then from a similar situation, that's why I think a lot of us probably as well grew up watching people like the Sidemen, because we just it's just like a group of friends hanging out. You have that vibe. You go and watch their content and you feel like you're part of it. So storytellers who are like that, you know, there's some smaller ones as well. I think I really look at Marshall Cruz. You know, he's obviously building his clothing brand. I'm sure a lot of you guys know as well. It's like people who are really trying to do things on a mission. You're seeing progress, and then they're telling the story around it as well. So that's who I look at for that. Now, so it's your second question as well, looking at the kind of storytelling. Recap that to me. What are the 4 parts?
Yeah, so how I kind of do it, at least where I'm from, when we tell a story, one of the methods that I follow is the STAR method, which is the situation, the task, the action, and the result. Kind of like what you showed us, but like that's just kind of how we follow our format where I'm from in New York City. So I wanted to ask you, is that a good format to follow for the time being? Or is that a good pattern to follow while implementing the procedures that you showed me? I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, it's difficult to answer the question without like seeing an example, but I think in terms of like the necessary components to it being there, like you've got everything you need in terms of this, like the situation, it should set up, you know, where are we and where are we trying to go? Like, one of the most important things that stories need to have is a vision of where we're trying to get to. So as long as your situation brings that up and shows where we're trying to get to, you're going through a normal process of, this is where we're trying to get to, this is what gets in our way, this is what we need to do to get there, and this is how we fucking did or didn't. It's like, that's cool. That's the structure. So, and also if it's coming from New York as well, it's like, that's one of the artistic hubs of the world. I'm sure it's fucking killer, bro.
So what I mean by STAR, sorry again, is like situation, task, action, result.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a story. I seen this girl that I like from afar away.
Yeah.
And I want to approach her. So the action that I take is I walk to her and I talk to her and I ask her for her number.
Mm-hmm.
That's the task that I have to have. And now the action I take is to go up to her and talk to her. I'm either going to be told no or yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the result is she said yes and gave me her number.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned from that situation is it's okay with going into the process of meeting somebody new to be told no, because the next somebody's going to eventually say yes. Yeah. So that's like a random thing I just thought of.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. One thing I'd say, like, first of all, as a story structure, that's fucking brilliant. To improve that, what I'd like you to do is just introduce the problem as quick as possible. So you see a girl from afar, I want to go and speak to her, but I could get rejected. It's like, what are the thoughts that come to your mind? It's like, oh, I'm not good enough. She's like, oh, she might reject me. What are these thoughts? Like, bringing that problem straight away and then lead that to the action, because then the action has context and stakes built up around it, where you're like, I can go and speak to her, but all of this shit might go wrong. So then you have a huge emotional play, and then it's like success or failure. So it's either like sink or swim. Yeah, great fucking question, bro. Love that. Who's up next? Philip, go for it, bro.
What's up, man? So just to give you a little bit of context, a few months ago, I saw this guy who's like, he coaches fitness coaches, and his main kind of unique mechanism is like, you need to sell through your story. Yeah. And he was constantly talking about it, and it clicked, and I was like, okay, so you got to sell through your story. And that's when I realized that you need to sell through your story with your content, mm-hmm. right? And I was, I was cool with that, right? But the other day, I heard him say that you need to sell with your story through content, specifically with fitness coaching, because he's a fitness coach. Because then he goes on to say, like, fitness coaching is, it's about relating to people, it's about self-improvement, etc. But then he added on, when you have a B2B offer, it's more of like, how fast, how quickly can you get me the result? Which is like, he was saying it in context of like, if you have a B2B offer, storytelling doesn't really matter as much. And that's when like it kind of flipped on me, and I was like, well, should I, because we as creative directors, stuff like that, or like agencies, we're trying to ideally target people who are making 50K, 100K, even more per month.
Yeah.
So my question is basically, should we, if we're trying to target people who are like higher in business, should we like focus on storytelling? What kind of story should we tell? Like, do they even care about our stories, etc.? Mm-hmm. So I would love to hear your opinion on that and how you would approach that.
Yeah, really good question. First of all, like, I think you can probably guess my answer is going to be yes. But I think it's just going to be what angle do you take to tell the story? For B2B offers, the person may be less interested in your specific story, but they are still interested in their story. All right? So it's just the story you tell. If this guy's saying, you shouldn't be posting storytelling for B2B, he's clearly just not very good at telling stories. Because if you can only everyone can tell their own story. It's like, yeah, you probably listen, you could walk down the street and ask some like random old guy what's his story, and he's going to tell you. It doesn't make him an amazing storyteller. But to be an amazing storyteller is understanding who you're speaking to and what story matters to them. So if you're saying you're targeting people who are making 20, 50, 100K a month and they want speed and results, you tell them the story that helps them believe that and helps them make that true. So what is necessary? What details? Wait, what's going on? Anyway, so what details are specifically necessary for them to believe that story? And if that comes from a personal aspect of you going through that same result for yourself, fucking go for it. The thing is, you can use stories to communicate everything. I read this crazy stat the other day that 30% of the time when we're not telling stories, our brains are daydreaming. But when we're listening to our stories, we are hyper-focused, hyper-adaptive, and hyper-moldable. What that means is this crazy fucking scientific thing kicks in called, they called it neuro mirroring, where the brain of a listener matches the frequency of the brain of the teller. So if you want to move someone, get them to where you want to go, you use the story to do that. So when you're speaking to these offers, the B2B offers, you're just telling them a different story. You might be thinking of storytelling specifically as origin story. That's just one part of it, right? You can use many different types of it. And this is where you just speak directly to them.
I guess like when I think of a story,
yeah,
it does. I guess when I think of a story, I think of it in a way where it has to come from you. But maybe I'm wrong. I probably am wrong. So I want to ask you, like, can you give us a quick example of how that looks like? Like, what's one story that you would tell, or how would you formulate it or come up with it that's like that, you know, could attract B2B business owners, you know?
Yeah, give me the situation. What's the business?
They're a business coach and they need to go like in depth, or just say like they're a business coach.
Yeah, I mean it helps to be in depth. If you want, I'll use an example from my business because I already know it. But what you need to know is, again, it's the same thing with the narrative. So it's like, who are they? What do they want to get to? What's in their way? Where are they trying to get to, and why? And you just use those same things but apply it to them. So it's like, if I'm talking to a client, you know, he's trying to come on and trying to be, you know, he's looking to kind of like go for storytelling. It's like, I'll tell them a story that a client has gone through. It's like, I actually go and tell them the exact story of a client that's gone through, but in a way where it speaks directly to them. It's like, if they've come on through an application form and told me that what they want is 10,000 followers and 15K a month, it's like, I'm gonna find the client story that's closest to that and use that to tell them. It's like, what I can also do as a separate thing is just, you know, I know you obviously know about current situation and dream outcome. Yeah, it's like, you just tell a story about what that looks like. So like, if you're in a current situation as a business, say for example, as a business coach, it's like, you know, you're in a current situation now where, you know, you're putting out content every single day, but, you know, this content isn't converting into leads. You know, you put out a video, you get a fucking comment, you're hyped to see that one comment, but then you see it's like from an Instagram like model bot or some shit, and it's like, it's not going to lead anywhere. It's like, you need to tell the story. It doesn't need to be from anyone's specific situation. It's just the story that they can see in their mind of what they're currently in, and then relate that to the story of where they want to get to. So the future is like, you want to be in a situation where you put out content. So I'm not entirely sure what this offer is. I'm making this up in my head as I go along. But like, if they're a business coach, it's like, and you're helping them with content, for example, it's like, you want to be able to put out content that speaks to who you want to speak to and gets the kind of leads to coming in every day consistently that you have control over. It's like, you just paint these pictures up with the things that you know about your customers. And that's the same for B2B, B2C, because humans work on, like, it's just how we work. It's emotion. It builds up the emotion, and then obviously follow with logic in terms of what they actually get.
Got it. That helps. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, of course.